Now
Can you hear me?
taken care of. Hey, yep, I hear you fine. I hear
Okay,
you
I want to
fine.
see if my headphones work.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, because
Now
these
let me shut my.
headphones.
I'm gonna shut my YouTube as well. I'm shut everything actually.
Everyone can see and hear me. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't log in on my.
Me and Sandy's here, and we're just open panel, open discussion, and we're just gonna hang out for a little bit and see how it goes. Let me send Eris a link.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, let me do that real quick. So
that's gonna get interesting real quick.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? So eh,
I mean, he should be up.
yeah, he is. He's same time. Well, I think he's an hour or two. Uh,
He's an hour behind me.
yeah, he's two behind me. See, oh, here we go. This one, I think. I went and bought a new computer to do this, and I just had to rearrange my whole desk area and everything because of how I set it up. It looked so much better, but not because I threw a bunch of stuff on my bed.
I know what you mean with the
All
I
right. So
when I started working from home, I had to like rearrange everything.
yeah, I mean it does look a lot better. I mean, there's my other phone. Okay. All right. Now, so everybody, Sandy's got a new book coming out. Sandy, you want to tell them a little bit about your book, what it is, and what it's about?
Sure. Um, so it's a journal, actually. I mean, it's more than a journal. I haven't seen anything like it. Um,
Isn't it kind of like an interactive journal,
yeah, it's a guided journal.
guided
Um,
journal? Okay.
and so it's called Phoenix Rising, and it's a guided journal to your authentic self, right? You're going to transform through the ashes, and it's like 100 pages. It's a little bit more than 100 pages, but a lot of that is like open because there's so much writing involved, because writing is really important in the process of putting something on paper and then processing it instead of just talking about it. Or and so
Hmm.
it was a like totally inspired by source. um, I came up with the idea, like I was in the process of writing something else, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was like, I wonder if, and that was in like June, and by the end of August, I wrote it in 6 days and printed it out. And then right now it's in the final um, editing, formatting, and all of that stuff. So should be available in a couple more weeks, I hope, before Christmas. It's taken a lot longer than I expected. But what do you want to know?
No, I just was wanting to know a little bit about it, and so it involves some writing in it and stuff. I know I'm interested in buying one, but
Yeah,
what do
for
you?
sure.
When are you looking at it to come out?
I'm thinking, I mean, it's the 20th. Hopefully, it'll be done in the next 2 weeks. I have to get past this like the most important part that I'm dealing with right now. And
Yeah.
then like all the like locking down, all the words, making sure that the graphics, because there's a lot of graphics in there. I have a lot of like pictures so that you can doodle, right? So you can just like color with colored pencils or what have you. And
Yeah.
um, and then just a lot of writing. So, and there's just a lot within it to where I have to make sure everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Because pages were mixed up when I was doing the review, and so it's just going back and fixing all of that. And then they just have to do a few more things with that. This is the bulk of it. So hopefully in a few more weeks, we'll see. It's all divine timing. Um, so the book in and of itself is 5 chapters. I'd say each chapter is probably 15 to 20 pages, but like I said, so much of that is writing. It's not a lot of reading because the way it's designed, like I will ask you or I'll give you information. So like the first chapter talks about embracing the flames. So like what does embracing the flames actually mean? And then within that, then I'm going to turn it around after I've given you information, and then you're able to respond to different writing prompts, is how it works. And then there's a lot of affirmations in here. They're all brand new. Um, I have in each chapter one page that says to take a break. This is probably my favorite page,
Yeah.
and and it has all the self-care practices because what I have found is so many people out there don't know how to take care of themselves because everything's so busy, right?
I, I'm one of them.
Right. And these are all things that you can do personally. It doesn't take a lot of time. And you could just start out doing one of them and like get in
Yeah.
the habit of doing that and then add more. Or you could do like how I would do when I'm doing something, I kind of go all in because that's part of like breaking the programming of what you used to do. So if you want to undo it, then you have to saturate.
Wow.
That's the best way for for me anyway, is to just completely saturate myself. That way you block out everything else that's going on around you so that the focus is more inward.
Right.
Because you have to get inside fixed and balanced before it's going to come out into the 3D. I mean, when they talk about like biblically, like what is in a man's heart is what comes out of their mouth type of thing.
That
And
sounds
and,
about
and
right.
that and that's true. So like, because there's a lot of people. I mean, everybody walks around with masks on their face, and like 2020, that was like a joke. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Between people can't connect. It's 2020. I'm like, that's perfect vision.
Hey,
That
fools.
means,
Mo saying hi to somebody in the chat. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh, that's fine. Um, hello. Um, but taking all of that into consideration, I put a lot of thought into this book. This is very heartfelt. This is my baby. Um,
Sure.
and so on the self-care practices, I just put things like listen to music, sing and dance, relax in a bath, absorb rays of sunshine, ground barefoot, um, mirror work with I stating affirmations. That is very difficult for people because you have to look in the mirror and you have to look at yourself. And then you tell yourself things like, I love you and I am worthy and I am powerful. And you have to keep doing that until you actually like can feel that and actually look in the mirror and feel good about you, right?
Right.
So this whole book, like as you move through it, I talk about exploring the concept of destruction and rebirth, which is the essence of the phoenix, right?
Right.
Um, and then I talk about duality and creating balance. And then what I'll do is I'll give an example of it. And then I'm asking you to write your own examples of things that you can come up with. And that's kind of, so it's this back and forth. And then throughout the entire book, I have places where you'll see stars, and it's called Time to Reflect. And like this one that I'm looking at, it says, "Stars shine brighter against the darkness, revealing our inner strength." Every time you see the stars, it reminds you to stop and reflect for a minute on like your progress, or just really like even just stopping to be grateful for where you're at currently, even if the circumstances are not exactly what you want, although circumstances don't matter because I am everything everywhere all at once. um, but that's the type of mindset that this is going to put you in, to where you literally are pulling your power back within you so that you can let go of what no longer serves you. And you're going to have a book that's going to help guide you through that journey, because it talks about overcoming adversity. And then you can affirm at the bottom, it says, "Adversity strengthens my spirit, leading me to growth and resilience." You can write that down and put that all over your house, your car, your work. And so if you're working on overcoming adversity, if that's something that, you're going through, and most people at this stage right now, everybody seems to be going through something, um, that just recognize that going through this adversity is going to strengthen you. And all you have to do is look in the rearview mirror of your life and you can see that. You can look back now if you're old enough and look at things that happened maybe when you were in your teens or your 20s, and you've grown through those experiences, because that's what they're intended to do. They're
Right.
not designed for you to go, "I'm such a horrible person," right?
Right.
Like and honestly, if you look at probably 90% of what people do, people don't necessarily do it intentionally. And intent is like 9/10 of it, right?
Right.
Um, because we're not supposed to do harm to ourselves or other people. Well, somebody's like, "You did that," and you're like, "But I didn't mean to do that." Now, of course, there are liars, right? Like there are people, but most of the time, everybody's just trying to get through the day. And you don't know what people are going through. And so this book, as you walk through it, it's really going to help take you inward. At the end of each chapter, I do what's called an emotional check-in. And I ask you questions like, what emotions have I been feeling lately? And are there any triggers, or bless you, or
Thank you.
situations that have been impacting my emotions? And then what I did is at the end of the book, I'm a teacher by trade. So, I'm always going to make sure that you have resources. And so at the end of the book, I have supplementals. And so I made out a list of positive and negative emotions. So you could refer to that if you want to be more specific, because I think sometimes people aren't familiar with the actual definition of what words mean. And so having that as a resource, maybe you can go through all of those emotions that are negative or the positive, and maybe you can look at, somebody might say that you're mad, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're nervous. Um, maybe you're feeling rejected. Maybe you have resentment. Those are more specific.
Right.
And those might actually be more along the lines of how you're feeling, then you can describe that in the emotional check-in. And then what you can do is you can go back and look throughout the book as time goes on, because this book isn't meant to go through in a couple weeks. This should be taken like slowly. And
Right.
if you just move through it and you're like, okay, I can get through this book in like 2 weeks, you're not gonna get the gist of what it is beyond surface. Like this book is designed to, like, you need to go deep, but
Yeah.
you're also gonna learn stuff along the way. I mean, it's gonna open your eyes up to a different way of thinking and a different perception and a different way of seeing things, right? Bless
Right.
you.
Trying
The
to walk
second
away.
the second chapter talks about finding strength in the ashes. So, like, that's, resilience and renewal. And you can think of, because I give a lot of examples in here that are connected to us that we're familiar with. And it's like the ashes symbolize not an end, but a fertile ground for growth. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, I agree.
Every day that you're alive is a beautiful day. You woke up. I used to tell my students, because they'd come in all grumpy and what have you, and this happened or that, and I just looked at them and I'm like, you know, some days all you can be grateful for is that you woke up, and that's it. Knowing that when you go to sleep tonight, hopefully when you wake up in the morning, you'll be in a better mood, right? Or
Or
things.
have a
I
headache.
mean, yeah, you don't have a headache, or that particular, I mean, just this week, I know one day this week I was so frustrated. Oh my gosh, like I was just ready to lose my shit. And I literally, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, you gotta just calm down. I'm like, I'm really trying to, like, meditate. I'm like, I'm so, like, pissy that, like, normally I'll sing and dance, and I was like, nope, I'm not gonna do that. Like, it was just one of those things where I was just like, I'm just not in the mood. And, obviously, like, I quickly can get back to it within a day. I slept like almost 11 hours. I slept almost
Nice.
11 hours, which is rare. I mean, I'm lucky to get like 5 or 6 hours
That's
of
about what
sleep,
I
and I was literally like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I slept that long, and it's what I needed, though. I needed that extra dream time, to go travel in the astral or something. have
got.
have conversations with
Fools is
you
making
know
comments. She made a couple comments. She said, keep the adventure growing within.
mhm.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I'm kind of in this place right now where I'm like, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go within. Like, that's where my imagination just completely blooms. I can build an entire world within me and have conversations with Source. We just go back and forth with each other,
Sure.
and it's so valuable. And then, I'll do things like, okay, um, Source, I, like, earlier today, because I've been doing a lot of work, like, and I really needed to get it done. And it's when I stop and I just say, Source, I need to assist and guide me in displacing time and space. And that happens, and I get so much work done in a very short period of time. And even though it may be an extended period of time, like a couple of hours, it just flies by as if it didn't take that long. Instead of getting all super stressed out, or because I'm just like, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't want to stress myself out about a stupid job. Like, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. You shouldn't be super stressed out all the time.
Yeah, that's me.
There's no reason for it. You're doing it to yourself. It's like self-harm.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's because we've been programmed to do that. I've experienced a lot of death recently in the last, 4 or 5 years. Both my parents passed.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry to hear that. And my aunt passed, brother-in-law passed. I had several dear friends of mine that were like best friends of mine um, from since I was like 15, 16 years old. And then I had one of my college friends die. I mean, it was like this perpetual, like, I kept finding out.
Yeah.
The guy that was in our was like one of the best men at our wedding.
Mhm.
He died. And it was all just like, wait, whoa. And then just recently over the summer we had a few more deaths. And
That's
and then
crazy.
my dog dies. And
Oh wow.
and like, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't take another death. I can't do it. Like, I just can't do it. I get it, but it like weighed really heavy on me. But it's, more so because I'm an empath. But then at the same time, what I learned through that is that, like, I start looking, I'm a lot into like energy and frequencies and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
everybody that comes to this channel probably usually is too.
mm-hmm. And, I've gone to an energy doctor for like, I don't know, time is elusive to me anymore. We've already discussed this. I don't even know what
Right.
time is half the time.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to talk to you about that, but you reminded me. I'm glad you did.
Okay.
Um,
And so here, let me just finish this and we'll
Go ahead.
start talking about that. And so with that, my understanding and what I've experienced, because I was like with my energy doctor, and then at one point, it was like when I was going through my mom dying, and then she's gone, and then he's like, she's not gone, she's still alive, right? Like, her consciousness is still alive. He goes, so she's not dead. And he goes, she's right here. And then he showed me how to call my mom. And then I was like, I want to talk to my grandma. Like, where's my grandma? And what it made me do is it made me realize, because the frequency, we can only see less than 5% of the light spectrum, which I taught this electromagnetism, the spectrum, the light spectrum when I was in school.
Right.
And what I came up with, and I don't know for sure, but I'm like, what if everybody is right here?
I believe they are.
We just can't see them because of our frequency, because of our limitation with our vision. Because remember, there was that, oh, what was that called? It was like blue something. It was like this weird, so that you could see at night. And those stories from Vietnam, where they were shooting out into the jungles
Oh,
because they
oh,
saw.
no! You're talking about where they had that infrared,
Mhm.
them goggles they were using. Yeah, and they were shooting at demons. Yeah, and they shot down a couple of their helicopters by accident. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that
Unless
story.
they were all tripping on LSD or something.
No, no, because
But
it
but
was
you know what
it was
I'm
proven.
saying? And there's just something, it's called like blue, like, I don't want to say cyanide because that's not what it is, or it's like a cyan, like CYAN or something. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look it up. I like went down that little, but it's not available. We cannot get it because whatever that is,
They
it,
banned it probably.
yeah, they banned it. Um,
Sure they did because they don't want you doing it. They don't
because
want you to see.
you can see with it, whatever it was. I can't quite
Oh,
remember what it was.
so who did
Some kind of
that was
glasses.
yeah. So it was back in the day. One of the scientists, way back, had discovered that, and one of the I guess it'd have to be one of the heads at the Department of Defense probably looked into this guy's research and furthered the study, and re-engineered them and came up with them goggles.
Yeah, there was like it was some kind of special glasses. And
Yeah.
then you remember those pictures where it was like from late 1800s, early 1900s, and there was this, I don't know if it was like this machine or he was able to take some kind of a picture and then like people would go see him, and I don't know if it was some kind of a scam or not. You know, I'm sure they presented it to us more as that it was a scam, so it probably is true, right?
Right. Sure.
and 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 people would go to him because they wanted to see their dead loved ones or something, and he would do some type of like picture using something to where it like cast like a shadow of the family member or something like that. It was weird. um whatever happened to something like that?
Right.
And you know that all that technology, I mean, it's just been hidden. They hid it underground, and then they bring it up when they feel like it so that they can make more money off of us.
Sure.
But I do see, this was interesting. One of my students, oh, probably 8 or 10 years ago, she says to me, how come technology is bad, right? Take into consideration she was probably in like fourth or fifth grade.
Right.
And the children today, a lot of them, the younger ones, um, they are aware of what is going on. Some of it, I think, is because of the parents are aware and then are teaching the students, and then
Sure.
they become aware. In other cases, it's because they have access to the internet and all of those types of things, whether it's like the spiritual stuff, the students are always into like looking up ghosts and all that kind of stuff. So inevitably, they're going to come across um, like theories that are truths. um, and then they start learning about it, right? Or there's documentaries on Netflix, or wherever they're getting it. There's so much knowledge out there. And she says to me, how come technology is bad? And I looked at her and I went, technology in and of itself is not bad. It's the people in control of it.
Right. Right.
It's always the people. I mean, you could say the same thing when you're talking about the Second Amendment, right? Like, last time I checked, if I put my little, stick over in the corner by the door, you know what a stick is, right? I don't want to say that
Yep.
word. Um, it never once has taken a life.
Right.
It's just sitting there. That's the same thing with technology. It's just sitting there. And then, the other part of it is, I mean, because there's just so much out there. What if none of it is actually a problem? What if there's this weird possibility that these people aren't actually doing anything, but there's stories that get put out? And then as a result, because we're going back to energy, frequency, manifestation, creating stuff, um, they put all of that out there, then people grab onto that, and then that's what it becomes.
Right.
And so they're manipulating us into creating it for them.
Exactly. We're doing their dirty work for them.
Well, and as long as you are not consciously aware of what's happening, then, they do have some power over you. And
Well,
it really, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to undo, because I catch myself all the time.
a lot of it's got to do with the words that we speak.
Oh, for sure.
Because the double word meanings and
Oh,
um,
that's my book, Word Magic. Oh, I love that
yeah,
book.
yeah. It's all the I don't want to call it word salad, but I mean, kind of, sort of is. But it's like we're finding out that the English, specifically the English language, is designed for nothing but nefarious purposes. Uh, that's why it was created, and that's why they want. I think they're aiming for the populace in the entire realm to
To speak that language.
speak one language, and that
Even though they do their damnedest to really put it out there to the collective that somehow uh, other languages are like fine and that we want to like eliminate English or something, and yet I'm like, if the English language is utilized in commerce, in business. Like if you want to do global business, you better know how to speak English.
yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
just think
and but the question is like, why are all of the foreigners wanting to learn English? The ones that are it's relative to some type of business or something. Because I
yeah.
used to have exchange students that came from Europe, came and stayed with me. I was a private tutor for them.
Okay,
Um,
I want to touch on something when you get done.
yeah, no, and so all I'm saying is these students that are coming over are so smart. They are so smart. And I'm like, if this is indicative, like I would ask them all about their schools, like how everything was set up. And you know what I found out?
What?
They don't have sports at school.
They didn't want?
They don't have sports at school. And they also go to school on
Oh
Saturdays.
wow.
The Japanese, they give their students full homework packets all summer long.
Oh wow.
So they are doing schoolwork every single day. And it's not just like a little bit, it's a lot. It is a lot. And so people want to know like why America could be behind in some areas and our school system is just, oh my God. I don't have anything nice to say about it.
Well,
Get your kids out of public.
yeah. Well, I think when we go to public schools, I think that the whole curriculum is set up for everyone to become masons.
Well, it's set up for you to be factory worker and stand in a line and follow orders. You're supposed to be a good order follower.
Yeah,
And in
because it's
fact,
all commerce.
well, in the book Word Magic, it has a whole entire thing talking about. Um, I was gonna find my book.
Mm,
Um, it's got a whole thing. It talks about bees and the hive.
which you never see anymore.
Oh, I see them all the time out here.
Yeah, not here.
Um, that's because it's too cold.
Well, no, there wasn't a lot of them this year at all.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it
they
really
say
was.
that when they spray stuff, it kills them. Um, in this book, did you check the chat? Is anybody saying anything?
Um, no, yeah, no, I've been reading it.
Okay. Um, it talks about because you are made of water, you are like the bay. As for the word bee, it is a name for identifying flying insects that are known for producing honey. Based on the previous two definitions, the word bay bee
Yeah.
means a body of water that produces honey. Combine water and honey, and you get the golden fluid that the alien gods need for longevity. More babies mean more golden fluid or honey for the alien gods. Why do you think a couple in a relationship calls each other honey or baby? Because
Nice.
every man, woman, and baby has golden fluid or honey inside him or her. Because he's talking about the ichor.
What's it? What is it
Um,
called again?
ichor. I think it's, if I can remember right, it's
Yeah,
ICHOR.
I remember we talked about that
Yeah,
before.
it's the I think I might have underlined it because it's
Is
from Greek.
is that does
Um,
that go with the in the biblical Abrahamic religion of the land of milk and honey? Is that what it's referring to?
maybe. I mean, from that standpoint, the land of milk and honey just means that it's prosperous and has abundance and
Right,
harvest, right? And if you have milk, that means that you have livestock that can provide the
right.
milk.
Because we're not supposed to drink the milk anyway.
You know, sometimes I think people don't necessarily know what they're talking about.
Something maybe.
Maybe it's just that we're not supposed to be drinking cow's milk. Maybe we're supposed to drink goat's milk.
Right, right. Who knows?
I'm just saying, like, I'm over this whole like we
Fear
shouldn't eat
mongering.
this and we shouldn't do that and we shouldn't. I mean, I'm not down for eating at McDonald's. I do not eat at that place. Will not eat at
Yeah.
that place because I am just very unsure about the contents of their.
Well, yeah.
Um,
We're not. Yeah, we don't want to.
On the other hand, I also know that through the power of frequency, using my sound vibration, I can turn anything I eat into whatever I want if I believe that, because that's how powerful we are.
Yeah,
The
and I want to
problem
get
is
to that
the
too.
the, the problem is that people aren't there because they're too busy going down the duality of dark versus light. When you don't understand, you are the dark and you are the light, and it's all inside of you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then it comes out of you into the 3D based on whatever it is that you're doing or thinking. And it's not even doing, it's what you're thinking. And then what you're thinking, you start doing. That's how it works. People are just so stuck on like this material world of 3D that like your physicality is the most important thing, and it's like it's not. We're
Yeah.
consciousness, we're spirit before. Like this is just a vessel to hold that. It's not we have a body and then a soul and a spirit showed up. No, it's the other way around. And that's how you can see how everything is so twisted and backwards.
Right. Right. Well, inverted world,
Mhm.
realm, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Uh, I was explaining where we were at earlier on a stream. I was at, excuse me, Charles Watts's, and I told the audience, I was like, look, if you take two magnets and you put them together,
Mhm.
okay, and right before they touch, or you could reverse one, because one's positive, one's negative, so you're gonna
Right?
you're gonna reverse them, okay. And when they get close, they start to push each other away.
Yep.
So what you do, that field between those two magnets is called the plane of inertia. That's where we are.
Yep. Well,
Um,
and that is all what's going on inside of us as well.
right, because we are toroidal fields. Everything in this realm is a toroidal field. If you look at a tree and you were to pull a tree out of the ground, the roots would mimic the top without leaves. Okay, that's the only difference. Okay, but if you look at those, then you could compare them to something else, and you could see that they would actually look like our lungs.
Uh-huh.
Everything in this
Nature
realm is,
is a it's a mirror.
yes, yes, exactly. Okay, so each fruit or any vegetable. So okay, so every organ in our body has a
Fruit
fruit
or a
or a
vegetable.
or a
Yeah.
vegetable that mimics
Hmm.
what our
It
organs look
needs
like.
what it and
And
that is
yeah, the
is
color too.
helpful to determine, okay, so if I'm having this issue, then this is what I need to eat.
Right. And
And you know, like I had just had a conversation earlier today.
that's great. We're on the same page.
A friend of mine, well, I've been in holistic health and supplements and herbs since I was like 20. So,
So Fools is too. She's into that.
you know, and I'm still learning. I mean, it's just like it's a perpetual state of learning. And here's a caution: a lot of the books out now, current ones, I mean, printed like current ones that are more popular now, remember that they have uh, changed information in our books since after World War II. So
Hmm.
you have
Like
to be really careful
for
because
sure.
they are actually putting dangerous information into books which could kill somebody.
And and they're also
When you're talking about like using the herbs and all this other kind of stuff,
not just that.
it's
The table of elements. They've done it there too. It's incomplete. Yeah, they've done it with a lot of different things. I've noticed.
well, and if you take a look at the periodic table, I found this interesting like a long, long time ago. Um, was when you, if you're aware of what is being sprayed, I'm not going to go any farther than that. Um,
Right. It's
when you're talking about elements, you're talking about barium, strontium. Go look at the periodic table.
yeah,
And if you know it well enough to know if you're into like health and stuff, then you'll be aware of what elements are in there, like calcium,
aluminum.
zinc, magnesium. Um, the good ones are in the same column as the ones that are being sprayed that are negative. Here's the messed up part. And this is only if any of this is actually true, which I mean, is very plausible. Maybe not on my timeline. I prefer to see it as vitamins and minerals that my body needs, as well as peptides, and I thank it for spraying it on me. Because that's the power of your mind, and you can do whatever you want. But there's a thought out there that, you know, that this stuff is happening, and you know, they've done tests and they've seen the different things that have been sprayed, and the negative things that are being sprayed are on the periodic table to where the things that we just happen to be missing in our food supply, they've like lined it up so that these other ones are taking its place. And because our body is starving for that, it recognizes those poisons because the receivers in our body need something of that sort, and they recognize it and they say, hey, I recognize that and I need some of that. And then they store it. And then you know what happens? We get fat. Because fat is a fatty lipid, it's an envelope and it wraps itself around toxins to protect us because that's how smart our body is.
Not only that, it also the biofield will it'll show up in the biofield before it shows up in the body. So it's quite possible once we are in balance with our biofield that we won't get sick. And
We repel it.
well, yeah, but we'll get a warning in the biofield. You know, it'll show up in the biofield before it does the vessel. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be our. It's like our like our pre preventive
It's
maintenance,
like
I
a
guess.
it's like a
Yeah.
bubble of protection, but you can put that over yourself now.
Yeah. Sure.
It's
Yeah.
it's just, you know, it really comes down to your thoughts. And everything that you see around you currently, you created that. And that is so hard for some people to swallow. They're like, I didn't create that. No.
Fools knows all about it, don't you, fools? She knows what we are.
And the whole thing is if you just recognize maybe that you created like a shitstorm, well, did you learn something out of the shitstorm? Did something good happen out of it? Or did you perpetually spiral into negativity to the point where you just completely fuck shit up? I mean, that's on you. Your behavior, your thoughts create what's going on. Can there be triggers? Absolutely. Those are tests. And there's traps everywhere that are set. That's why you need to have a relationship with Source, because Source should be like right in front of you as you walk, like
Mm-hmm.
guiding you. Like you're in that perpetual state of like knowing, because you can tell when you're off track. You can tell when you're not communicating with Source. You can tell because things start happening in your life and you're like, "Oh, why is this happening?" Now, on the other hand, there are tests that come up and then everything like immediately flips over. So it was like it was a test to see if you would freak out like you used to, but because you
Right.
didn't, you learned. And as a result, like everything just like quickly worked itself out. And you're just like, wait a minute. And so I think sometimes what happens is, or probably more like many times, um, we are so quick to want to solve the problem that comes in front of us instead of taking, a break for a minute and like reevaluating and being like, I'm just going to trust Source on this one. And if we learned to do that, then what you'll find is that the answers come to you on how to fix it. Um, Obviously, if something's an emergency, you're not going to just sit back and be like, well, let's just, this person is dying right now, but we're just going to wait for Source to like help us. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Um, I'm talking just like about daily decisions and how your thoughts are going to guide that. I mean, if you wake up in a bad mood, how do you think the rest of your day is going to go? We all know. We all know. It's like you can't find your shoe. You lost your keys. The coffee machine broke. I mean, and you're like, oh, my clothes are still in the washing machine. I forgot to put them in the dryer. I mean, these are real life like issues, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to get ready to go to work, right? And then you go to get in your car and your car won't start, and you're just like, what is going on, right? And that whole time, you're trying to like rush, you're trying to figure stuff out. And then you find out that there was like, this is notorious. This happened to me all the time because I was always running late. I still got to work on time, but like I preferred to be there earlier, and I just was like, nah, I can't make it. And something would distract me, or I'd have to run back in the house real quick. And then when I come back, get in the car and start driving to work, there's this major car accident on the road. What if that was supposed to be me? Right? So there's like two different ways to look at what's going on. It's just unfortunate that our jobs and our bosses, they're not in tune with that, which is why, if you're coming into the spiritual awakening and stuff, you need to figure out a way to get out of that so that you can work for yourself. Um, because we're going to need new jobs for what is happening. Like people need help right now. And I don't mean like to save them, but there's a lot of people that just came online recently and they're
Mm-hmm.
still really confused,
Sure.
and I like these people that, they came online in like 2020, right? There was just an explosion of people that are like, what the fuck? And so for all of us that have just been kind of sitting around waiting for the opportunity, right? To like finally be like, see, I told you, like
Well, a lot of people
I've
didn't
been
talk.
warning you. Do what?
A lot of people felt like they couldn't talk about it because nobody understood and they couldn't relate to what was going on. You
No,
know,
because if you're the only one, and let me tell you, I would get so excited when I would run across somebody that was of higher consciousness and had
right,
like just like I just want to just pick their brain because I'm like, oh my God. And then they're like, yeah, this is da 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 da. Da," and I'm just like, I am so thankful to have met you. Right. And it usually is just like a short encounter. And I
right,
really think that that was divine. Um, Coming in to be like, you're okay. Like, you're not crazy. Like, this is what's going on.
right,
So like, and I don't know, I haven't really asked this question to people that came online in 20, um, if they always like had some kind of an inkling, right?
right.
Like if they look back at their life, like I noticed like looking back, I thought everybody was like me. And then when I got into my 20s, I recognized that nobody knows what the hell's going on. Why do I know all this stuff and other people don't? And like it was just strange. And I was like, what do you mean you can't see that? I'm like, it's very simple, you know? And then the other part was is that I just knew stuff. And I used to get, like, you're just such a know-it-all. And I'm like, no, I'm really not. I just know stuff.
Right.
And, and like, if you present me with an issue, a problem, something's going on, I'll be like, oh, well, why don't you just do da 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 da? I mean, it's just that simple.
Problem
And then just,
solving.
yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
critical
me
thinker,
too.
problem
Me
solver,
too.
and I analyze. I gotta get some water.
Well, I can look at certain situations and immediately know a solution or a way to handle it. You know what I mean? And
I think
I'm like, it was so simple.
yeah, but then like for myself, there's other things that I could struggle with. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
And then at the same time, like I'm not a mechanic, but I had so many shitty cars that had so many different problems back in the day. Like,
Sure, we all have.
and then I had, my girlfriends or my guy friends, um, like everybody had different problems. And back then, like you could actually work on your car. So I learned from all of the guys that I hung around with. I'm kind of like, oh, what is that? And what is this? And then every time something would break on my car, then I would learn something. And so today, even like if something's wrong with my car, I just look at my husband and I'm like, it's da 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 da. And he just looks at me and he's like, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it is. And or I'll get on the phone and I'll punch in something. I do the same thing, like the trailer that we had, like our heater, it was just blowing air and I was like, oh my God,
Heater
like,
core out on it.
oh no 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 no, there was a setting in the
Really?
trailer, like on the heater, and we're like sitting outside because we're camping, and he's just like, I don't know, I don't know what's wrong. And so I'm getting on the internet to like look up,
Troubleshooter.
thermostat, da 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 da. And I go into these like what are they called? Those like pages where they have those people that'll like answer questions or
Chat.
whatever.
Yeah, chats.
And so I'm like reading through and I'm like, huh. And I go inside and I go tick tick tick, and like move some stuff and hit the button a few times, and then it stops. And it was because it was on, and like when you first hit it to like turn it on,
Right.
there's different settings. If you hit it, then it'll move the little thing. And so I just turn around and I just walk back outside and I'm like, I fixed it. And he's just like, shaking his head like, and I've done that on so many occasions to where like he just is like, I don't. So then he goes, you think I can fix everything? And it's like I'm thinking to myself, no, it's because I think that I can fix everything, or at least tell you what's wrong so you can fix it.
Yeah, you're just gonna diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, everybody should be like that, because if we were like that, then there would be a lot more, you know, problems that were solved. I mean,
Yeah,
for the life of me, it's difficult for me to comprehend, like, why. And see, this is the thing. This was something that I have had this thought since I was little. And it's probably because I'm an empath, because I can feel everybody's emotions. So, but I didn't understand it at the time. I was just really sensitive and I would cry. And, like, just recognizing, um, what's going on around me and looking at the world and being like, I don't understand why everybody doesn't have food. It's not like there isn't plenty of food, right? Or
I agree.
like what do you mean you can't find a job? Or and then, all these like poor people and low minimum wages, and then they raised the minimum wage to like, oh, now I'm making like $20 an hour. Yeah, well, your freaking McDonald's Big Mac meal is now $18.
Inflation.
And I
Yeah,
was like, and then you should be surprised, maybe when you file your taxes that you're not getting any money back
right.
because now you make too much. But they're making money and then they're shipping it over to Ukraine so they can blow shit up. I mean, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they line their own pockets, man. I mean, it's all
It is.
like when they give contracts, they give the
The
contracts to
buddies.
their
Yeah.
buddies, and yeah,
No,
it's
it's
just.
it's everybody's, back pocket.
Well,
I
I've always said, we should go back to the barter system, man.
I don't want to go that far.
Well, I mean, something's got to be done. I mean, maybe not that, but I mean, something.
Okay, well, we all know what that something's gonna be. I mean, you can read it in Revelation. Um, there's a point here where something's gonna shift, and I don't know exactly when that is. I know I like everybody loves to predict,
I
oh, it's
think,
gonna happen, and
I
people
think,
said it was gonna happen in 2020. Didn't
I think
happen in
things has already
2020.
started to unravel, so to speak.
Well, I am, like there's a possibility something has shifted.
Well, everybody's aware now of the deception.
Oh, I don't know about everybody because we got like half the country that's still voting for.
Well, I think well, you know what I think about that, but we won't go there.
I know. I'm not even into the whole thing.
Yeah,
Nobody's elected. Everybody's selected.
yeah. I still think that everything's scripted, though.
It is. They're following the script in Revelation
Yeah.
because the people that
The
put all of
sheeple.
that.
Yeah, yeah. The
Well,
sheeple have a entertainment.
didn't I read that to you the other night
Uh.
about what sheeple was in my book?
You might have.
Didn't I? Let me see
Yeah, I
if I
mean,
can
because
find
look,
it.
look. Jesus, he had a flock of sheep, and then he had a flock of parishioners in the church, didn't it? Ain't that what they call them? A flock of parishioners.
Well, isn't that in Catholicism?
I thought it was in a church, a
Parishioner.
Christianity. Yeah. Um.
Mm,
I
I
I've been to church. I lived in the Catholic school for a year.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school too, and I was
Yeah,
not Catholic. I was not Catholic.
I
Oh, here
wasn't
it is,
either.
right here. Um, it says shortly after you were born, your parents or pair
Yeah.
rents gave you a name. They gave you a YOU or EWE, a name because you are going to be a good little sheep for the dark magician. Did you know that the word you spelled EWE? is defined as a female sheep and is pronounced similar to the word you, which is you. The dark magicians like to call you or you a sheep or sheeple because sheep are some of the most gullible animals on the planet, and they are great at following orders. The
Mm-hmm.
word sheeple is defined as people compared to sheep in being docile, foolish, or easily led. It is derived from the combination of the two words sheep and people. I think we already figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, why did your parents or parents give you or you a name? Because the word name sounds like name, which is a sound that horses like to make. Besides calling you a sheep, the dark magicians also like to call you a horse because a horse is phonetically whores, WHORES. If you think it is just a coincidence, you have no idea how deep the horse connection goes. Read further and I will show you why it is not a coincidence. And so then it goes into a whole thing about horses and grooming and ponies and cribs and stables and racehorses. And then it goes into Babylon and then the gate of the gods, ancient gods, menagerie,
Mm-hmm.
manage and manager. And then, Jesus was put in a manger,
Yeah.
which means a box or a trough in a stable or a barn from which horses or cattle eat. I mean, it is so ridiculously connected. It's sickening. And it's all magic. Like that's, you know, we
Right.
have been presented with magic as being, just illusions, like the fun magician that you would go see, right?
Right.
Or, of course, through all of our teachings, we've been taught magic is bad. It's so bad. Um, you perform magic every day the minute that you speak a word. Like the frequency is so powerful. And, you know, when you just, once you know, and then you have to, act upon it, which
Right.
means speaking differently. And like in my classes, I have came to like, okay, look, the only rule we have in here is you can't talk bad about yourself and you can't talk bad about others. And I even set that up in my friend circle because I had like different males, like, how guys like kind of like to dig on each other and they like to talk shit and put people
Mm-hmm.
down and make fun of them. Well, I don't actually think that's right.
No, no, it's not. You're not supposed to do that anyway. You're supposed to treat others how you want to be treated, because it's just not, it's just not good if you don't.
Well, but the whole premise behind that is, oh, they're just being guys, you know? And it's
I
like,
know.
okay,
I was one of them.
what happened to, you know, I want to be around the divine masculines. I want to be around the protectors. I don't want to be
Right.
around the guys that are like talking shit over on the side, like checking out all these chicks and then being like super rude or crude or no, that's not how you should act.
Right.
I mean, so it's like there's been this whole concerted effort through programming to really mess with the divine masculine and then really to like, there's a massive attack on the feminine, but it's
Yeah.
because they've perverted it so bad,
Sure.
so bad to
Look at the
where,
commercials for food, like hamburger joints and shit. How they sexualize the food.
oh yeah, like the famous Carl's Jr. Eat Me commercials.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, like seriously, that shouldn't even before the 80s, that wouldn't even have probably flown on the TV unless it was like after 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Um, I remember my grandma, she used to always watch soap operas, back in the day. And
Oh yeah.
she,
Oh yeah.
in the 70s, right?
Bold and
And
beautiful.
like All My Children, One Life to
Yeah.
Live.
General
and
Hospital.
General Hospital. Everybody was
Yeah,
obsessed with General
not
Hospital.
random. Dallas.
I never liked General Hospital. I never got into that. It was All My Children and One Life to Live.
That was the one Rick Springfield was in.
Which one? General Hospital?
General Hospital.
Remember?
Yeah, and that's probably why there was like a big, because we were all kind of like into all those cute boys back then. The
Yeah,
Patrick
yeah, you know how we
Swayzes,
were.
Thomas C. Howells, Rob Lowe, um,
Yeah,
that
I
whole
forgot Rob Lowe was in it.
that whole group. And so then that would like draw you in to watch that.
But you notice how they got out there for a minute. Uh, I noticed right at the end of General Hospital, they was doing some kind of vampiric or some shit. Something was
Oh,
going.
really?
Yeah, it was out there. I don't know if it was witches or vampires, but it
I
was
mean,
something like
it's
that.
not surprising though. Like, my grandma, she ended up, I think at some point I must have asked her, like, why aren't you watching it anymore or something? And she told me, she goes, well, they started cussing. So I just didn't want to have it. My grandma was she was such a pure soul. Like her background, her whole life. Oh, it was, I
My
can't even
mother,
talk.
she quit watching wrestling. That's how bad shit got. My mom used to love watching, the fake wrestling shit,
That's funny.
and she quit watching that shit because it got so bad. Yeah, that was really fucked up. Yeah,
I remember watching that back in the day, like
I went to one.
18, 19 years old. I'm like, this is so stupid. And, I would be hanging out with some like guy friends and they would want to watch it. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so dumb, and then it like transitioned over to this UFC stuff now. And I'm just like, you guys
Well,
are like,
and I'm finding out it's really low vibe shit now.
well, I'll put it to you this way. Anything that's on the TV pretty much is low vibe. It's, at one point, I had listened to Mark Taylor's prophecies about like Trump and all that. And then like
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But he did talk about how, because it's Satan's frequency, you know?
His
Like
his
like
his
like
his
what
realm.
is like what is being emitted? Like what part of we live in hell do people not understand?
Well, I mean,
The
is I
upper,
mean,
it's an upper level, and based on your thoughts is going to determine your
would it go down a
location.
little further? Yeah. Well, there's an interesting conversation I had yesterday about this realm in general, and if um, so, evidently, there's conversation that the next time, because who knows how many times we've been here, who knows, and who's counting, and does it make a difference? No, it doesn't. What matters is getting the fuck out and never
Yeah,
coming
and
back.
honestly, I kind of sort of, there's a part of me, because there's, at this juncture in time, I mean, everybody can say this or that. They could, oh, I had a near death experience. Well, you still didn't die.
Yeah. Well, here's the
You
thing.
didn't.
I'm gonna cut you off real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I keep hearing this near death shit, this NDE. Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm tired of hearing about it, man, because I don't subscribe to the shit because there's no death. Okay. So how
There's
did you get
it's
near death if there's no fucking death?
You were locked inside the matrix as you like so-called passed. you
Right.
came you came back, and I there's just, it seems like there's, it's that like controlled opposition. The other part of that, because all of the religions want to argue about who's who,
Oh,
and I'm
that's all
like,
commerce. They're commerce. That's all that is. Corporations, man. That's all religion is.
so why is it when somebody that's of a different religion, when they have their near death experience, then they
It's
see who they call God or Jesus, or, they'll say, I had a conversation with Allah. Well, how's that any different than this person over here having a conversation with Jesus or with
Allah,
angels or with,
Allah, Allah, all of them, they're all the same energy. Zeus,
mm-hmm,
Jesus, Osiris, they're all the same fucking energy.
exactly. And so that's what shows that you actually didn't die. And then it's almost like you had some type of a vivid,
Dream, lucid dream,
but,
out of
but
body
you,
experience.
right. But you still didn't die, even though you might have stopped breathing for 5 minutes and you saw yourself rise out of the bed. I mean, I don't doubt that that type of stuff did not
Oh,
occur,
shit, man.
because when people come back, a lot of times, depending on what transpired in that
Well, you would,
interaction, then like maybe they were talking to themselves.
yeah, yeah, I
Maybe
agree.
their higher self, and then, or they saw their family
Uh,
members, or like just different things. And then there's other situations where maybe people are just straight up lying.
There we go. Boy, we about lost power.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I unplugged it earlier and I didn't know it, but we're good now.
Do you know what I'm
I was
you
thinking you
know
were
what
going to
I'm
kick my ass. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Um, you know, and
and
I've
so,
spoken. Go ahead.
you came back. I mean, so you didn't really die, but you did, or you had a talking to
Here's the
with
thing.
yourself or
I know
something.
I know if they can put you back together, you're not going to die. As long as the vessel can be put back together, you're not going anywhere. They're going to keep you here.
Exactly.
They need your fucking energy, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, they need your energy.
Well, and the whole thing is that maybe we all just keep looping and we don't get out of here until the story is over.
Yeah. Well, here's Fools has made a couple comments. So let me go through the chat real quick.
Yeah,
She
go
said,
for it.
um, still part of the program in the Matrix. Yeah. And she said that just another deception and near death experience. Spirit guides are part of the Matrix. Absolutely. I agree
Oh,
100%.
boom.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, they're guiding you. Okay, they're gonna guide you right back. Yeah, fruit looping. Exactly, exactly.
Fruit looping. I
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
one.
Frequent. Yeah, yeah. Because Fruit Loops is frequently repeated original timeline.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good one. Should write a book on that.
yeah. Makes sense though, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, and once we started seeing the Mandela effect, and then we started seeing the Mandela effects, then that right there should have been the wake up for everybody to realize. But then everybody was arguing about there ain't no Mandela. It wasn't like that. That's the way it's always been. No, it ain't, motherfucker. Just like Ed McMahon. Remember when we were kids, he'd always come to the
Yes.
house and
Yep.
pleasure spirits
Yep.
out with the big check.
Yep. Yep.
Never happened. The cornucopia never was in the Fruit of the Loom thing.
And that's bullshit because I can
Yeah.
see it right now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure.
Um,
Febreze.
yeah, that's so, yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man. I mean, this is shit that
Okay.
we grew up on. The Flintstones.
Okay. Serious question,
All
because this
right.
is a big Mandela that's going on right now since we've like jumped freaking a bunch of timelines. And when has Thanksgiving always occurred? Was it the third Thursday of the month, which is what or is it the fourth?
It was. I thought it was the third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, always the third.
Except they're saying now it's the fourth.
Well,
And I'm
it,
like, my son's birthday was like right at Thanksgiving, so like I've monitored like his day, right?
right.
And I'm like, it was the third. It was always the third Thursday. And I
Y-
have
y-
such a good I have such a good memory of just like random things that I can remember. And, you know, I've been sober for a really long time. So I was always the person, like, anytime we would go to parties and they would be like, you know, this is what happened last night. Like, if there was like people
Ask
caught
Randy.
into it or something.
Ask
And
Randy.
and exactly. And I'm literally like, no, that is not what happened. I was the only sober person there, and I'm going to tell you what happened. And I mean, they just had to like listen to what I had to say because I was like, no, I wasn't like 10 shots in, you know?
Right. Yeah, I wasn't. I definitely wasn't the one that you talked to about anything at a party because what happened the night before. Because I was a drinker. I mean, I haven't drank in years, but I take that back. I actually drank maybe 4 sips of a beer like a week ago.
Well,
But
I like to go down to Mexico
I,
and
I
get
think
like,
I've been sober long enough as far as beer and stuff like that goes. Right?
oh yeah, like
Yeah, I just don't
I
care for it.
I think I've only like blacked out like twice, maybe 3 times.
Well, I now
I had to limit myself. I was like, I can't have any more than 3 drinks.
well, here's the deal with me
I just
is
got too wasted.
I did the hard liquor and it would change me so much that um I wasn't me. Like it was like
Well, that's why they
somebody
call
else.
it spirits.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm getting at that I was pushed out, you know. And I mean it was and I never knew that, you know what I mean?
Right. But they tell you.
Hmm.
That's the irony of the whole thing. And I still can't even believe that you know, that green plant is legal.
Yeah.
Um, because, you know, I said, I don't understand this. And like the last time I checked, like you're just gonna chill on the couch and like get the munchies. I mean, you're not gonna like go
I
out
can't
and
I can't
harm
help it, man.
people.
I can't man. Yeah, I can't do it. I know it out. Or I get
Well,
real hungry or thirsty or
it,
tired or feel weird.
exactly. You're not gonna go rob a bank or like
That's all the weird shit to me, man, that I don't enjoy.
you don't like eating.
Well, yeah, but fuck, I can only eat so much.
Well, at any rate, I mean, I understand what the push is because it makes it seem like you're part of the crowd if you're drinking. And it's so deceptive because I mean, in the last 4 years, I think I've lost at least 4 people that
Yeah,
were
that's
like in
like
their
a drink.
they were in their 40s
Drunk.
from drinking too much alcohol. I mean, it's like I don't know that you could overdose on the green plant.
No, I've never heard of anybody.
No, because you're going to pass out before that happens.
Sure.
And then you wake up the next day and maybe you have a hangover of it and you're just like, oh my God, I smoked too much.
I've never heard anybody having a hangover, but I
Well, I
definitely heard
don't mean
people
like
passing
a
out.
I don't mean like an alcohol hangover. I just mean like you're like ditzy in the head.
I don't know. I've never smoked it like that. I mean, I've probably smoked it a handful of times, and each time I smoked it, and I'd kick myself in the ass thinking, why'd I do this? Now I'm all fucking weird. You know, it just weirded me out, man. I just,
That happened to that
because
happened
what
to
it does, it
one of
makes
my
me go with,
friends.
it makes me go deep within myself sometimes. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's the best part about it.
Yeah, no, hell no, it ain't.
I mean, you know, some say that that actually blocks um, the ability, um, like, for you to be as programmed because it opens up and like expands your mind.
Yeah, well, I've done enough hallucinogenics to do that. Yeah, I used to eat a lot of LSD and well, yeah, just really a lot of LSD. But I here I don't want to say a couple years ago. What's that shit?
DMT,
Yeah. What's it called? Oscar, what's it called?
ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. So I did some of that, and
And what did you see?
well,
I want to hear.
here's, here's the deal. So I
Because
knew going.
I'm never gonna do anything like that. I don't like psychedelics. I won't.
Well,
That's not my thing. I do like mushrooms, but
yeah,
not,
not me, not me.
but not that. Like I like reishi mushrooms and
Well, you
like
don't even know that this is
lion's
going to
mane.
happen. Well,
What do you mean? Like, okay, so tell me what
so I
happened.
went going into it. I knew it was in a vape pen. Okay. Now you know you can make this shit too, right? You can make your own.
I don't know anything about it, but
I don't either,
we're not gonna advertise that. Just get
but
to the story.
evidently no. Well, no, it's through holistic shit. But
Oh, right. Okay.
so anyway, I knew going into it that I was a lightweight when it come to smoking anything. Okay, so I'm like, man, I'm only gonna hit because you're only to hit this shit once anyway, right? So I'm like, man, I'm just gonna hit it about half a hit. And my brother tells me because it was me and my brother and my nephew, and my nephew's one that had it, and my brother's like, look, when you hit this, you're supposed to sit down. I said, all right, I'll do that. So I took about a half hit of this shit, and I instantly sat down, and that's all I remembered. And then what I do remember, as far as in
Oh,
the in the in the journey, was uh, a kaleidoscope.
interesting.
You know what I'm talking about? Remember them things we used to look through when we
I
were
Yeah, absolutely.
so yeah, but it was just a humongous kaleidoscope, and
Were you
I didn't
holding
talk to
it?
God, huh?
Were you holding it, or that's what you saw? It just looked
That's
like
what
this huge.
that's what I saw in my mind's eye.
I think you needed to take a whole hit.
No, well, you know what? It's the thing with that is I found out that people see the same thing. They see either see the elves or the fucking the aliens, little
That's
alien.
like sounds like the DMT.
No, I don't think it. I'm pretty sure what it was
And
that
it
I
was in
saw.
it because I saw a friend of mine, they had a vape pen and it was
Maybe it was.
DMT,
Maybe it was.
which is naturally produced in your brain while you sleep.
Right, right.
And so what that stuff does is it activates the same part of your brain. Um, I had a friend that told me about it because I was like, ah, that sounds really interesting. I think I want to try that. And but then at the same time, I was like, I don't know because I'm just not into like
Here's the thing.
I don't
Why
want to
would you
see
want
I
to
don't
go
want to
outside like that and then come back here? If you're gonna go
yeah,
outside and then come back to this, it would be. I mean, because if it was a good journey, you wouldn't want to come back here. You
no.
know, um, there's nothing enjoyable about this place, man.
Oh, I totally disagree. I no,
Not for
we're
me.
not. No, we're not
I'm
gonna
just
go
telling you
there.
because
No.
I'll tell you right now. I'm just gonna say this that I'm gonna change shit, but it's just been a hell of a 3 years for me, and I'm still here. So that says testament to something.
Well, it's called Walk Through the Fire. That's why I wrote this book.
Yeah, yeah.
And I literally am like a living example. It's like, one of my friends says, "Are you going to do your own journal? Like go through the whole thing and like walk through it." And and
Are you?
well, this is what I said. I'm like, here's the deal. I'm the one that wrote the book.
Obviously.
Where do you think the inspiration came from? Where do you think, like, why did I add all of these things in here? I mean, because this book is just full of all these just little, like, it's just so positive throughout the whole thing. And yet, I'm just trying to like help you help yourself. And, when I
Right.
ask a question like, what was revealed as you walk through the fire of adversity and transformation? I mean, where did I even come up with that? This book is dedicated to divine spirit because Source is the one that like wrote this book. It just used me to like put it on paper.
Right.
Um, but it's because of the experiences that I've gone through. And like, if you know me, then you're going to see me throughout the entire book because it's things that I have talked about for a very long time, you know? And
Yeah.
I offer in there like write 3 times and speak 3 times this affirmation. I rise stronger from challenges, seeing them as opportunities for growth. So when you sit here and say, this place is horrible, there's nothing good about it, well, that's not true. It's just been your experiences, and you're looking
You're
at
right.
them
You're right.
through the wrong lens. Now,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I
a
agree.
couple of days ago when I was losing my shit, that was like not a fun time. But that's not to discount. I needed to learn something through that. It was like, wow, like I really need to calm down. Well, that's not me. My husband looks at me, he's like, whatever, like you'll be fine. you know, I'm a girl. I have a lot of emotions that swing from one side to the other, but I also, depending on the energy of what's going on the planet, it's been real heavy lately.
I agree.
Like extra heavy. And then, if you follow anything with the planets or whatever, which I don't, half the time I don't even think they are speaking the truth with any of it. Um, and like the zodiac's only been around since like the Greeks. I mean, it's not been some ancient. There were other ways of like following like astrology, but like the names of the zodiacs didn't come out because I had actually, it was so weird. I asked one of my best friends, we talk about a lot of weird stuff. And I was like, I wonder what the zodiac names were before the names that they have right now. And then when I find out that the Greeks were the ones that like put it all together or whatever, then I was just like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. So what did they call stuff before that? Or do you know what I mean? Like, so there's always another story to whatever story we've been given, which isn't accurate.
Right.
And to me, I don't understand why we just don't know. Why can't you just keep the script? Like, why do you have to like interject and put all of this and add stuff and delete stuff and hide stuff from us? Like, I feel like I'm on some kind of scavenger hunt trying to find the truth.
Hmm.
And that's the thing, right? Like, have you or the audience, has anybody ever asked for the truth? Or are you just like, jumping from this rabbit hole to the next rabbit hole? Or,
I
like,
quit. I quit going down them.
I,
I let everybody
I,
else do it for me.
well, because I've, like there was that map. There's this map. I have the picture on my phone, and
What
it
of
kind of
what?
it shows, it has all of the different you know truths
Uh
that they
huh.
say aren't truths,
Uh huh.
um on this big huge piece of paper. And I took a look at it, and there must have been like 2,000 on there. And I'm
What
like
are you
looking at,
What are you
um,
referring to?
it's this like map, and it has all of the things written out. So like one thing is like aliens, but then it'll be like, it talks about the MK Ultra, and then it has like, this connection with all these different things. I'm sure the audience has seen it. It went bouncing around, I
I
don't know,
haven't
probably
seen it.
5, 10 years ago. Okay,
Oh, I
well
haven't heard of it.
then I'll see if I can find it. It's gonna be way back in my
No
phone
kidding.
because I have like 25,000 pictures on my phone.
Well, yeah, I
Um,
definitely want to have a look at that.
but I'll see if I can find it. I might even be able to find it on the internet. Um, but I was taking a look at all of those, and was like red pilling a friend of mine right at the 2020, and she has done a complete 180, by the way. Like she just moved. She's gone on this whole like bufo, that toad stuff, um, journey, and then she's doing like all this energy and like feather work and stuff.
What you
She's a
call the toad?
trip. Yeah, that toad
Lick
poison
the
or
back of
whatever
the
it is.
toad? You talking
The
about
it's
where they lick the back of the frog?
No, I think it's a psychedelic.
That's what
I
I'm
don't
talking about. Yeah, the dog or the toad. You lick the back of the frog. It's got puts off
a
his
toxin.
toxin. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you trip
What-
out.
yeah. It's a defense mechanism.
So she's opening up like this sanctuary or whatever to offer all this like healing and everything. I'm just like, good for you. But like, if you
That's
knew her backstory, you'd be like, no freaking way. I can't even believe this chick is doing any of this. Like, it's
that's great.
amazing. Like, I love it. But at the time, I was basically red pilling her because she was completely blue. And she was unaware, but I said to her, you know, do you want to know the truth? Because I will tell you, at least from my perspective, what I see it as. And I was like, are you sure? Because you're not going to like it. And like once you're exposed to this, like you can't go back,
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
like you're going to lose all your friends because they're
Yeah,
all going to think you're batshit
yeah.
crazy.
You lose everybody.
And she was like, no, I want to know. And I was like, okay. And she's actually a childhood friend of mine
Really?
that we just stayed in contact on Facebook. And so I always just stayed friends with her, even though she had like a lot of different views than me. But I was like, whatever. Like I've known her for such a long time, and I always liked her, so
Right.
she just do whatever. And so then I gave her the truth of it. And then when this map came out, I sent it to her. I think it had already come out because I think it came out in like, I don't know, 2017, 2018.
And that long, huh?
And it's older than that too. I don't even know where its original form is. I think you can even order like a poster of it. At any
Right.
rate, I took a look at that, and it must have 1,000, 2,000. I'm not even sure. It's huge and tiny print.
Really?
And I told her, I was like, I have gone down almost every one of these. There's a few of them that I haven't just because, this doesn't interest me or whatever. I mean, because I was
Yeah.
always like, I would get home from work. This was back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I would have worked all day long. And then in the evening, like
Works more.
after the kids are everybody's gone to bed or whatever, I'd sit up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning watching videos, trying to figure out what was going on.
That shit too with 9/11.
Oh, just all of that stuff, right?
All that. Yeah. I was mad. I wanted to go across. I was so mad and brainwashed over it. I wanted to go over there and fight. That's how
Well, it
I was.
just, but so much of that is not necessarily the truth.
It's all a lie.
Like, there's the story that they gave us, right? That's what the collective.
Controlled demolition.
Hmm. Then you have the other side of it, which is this whole other story that goes on, which seems plausible, right?
Right.
And then there's the truth.
Right.
And so you have to be able, and I learned this.
Right.
This was not something, because I remember coming across things and being like, no, that's the way it is.
Right.
I need water.
All right. So I wanted to about the timeline about how to take myself out of time.
Mm. My energy doctor actually pulled me out of the matrix.
Yeah, and
So it is possible. And it was funny because I asked him, I said, I want you to take me
I
out
know
of the
about the 15
matrix.
month calendar, and I know about the 28 days in each month, and so you know here's the story of what I've got before we go any further. I got
Okay.
this, and the story I get is so the Pope, um, we're under the Pope timeline for the Pope. I forget what it's called. Oh, something. I said it earlier today, uh, where he holds all the birth certificates throughout the realm. He owns them. Did you know that?
Of course. That's like old news.
Yeah. So um, I
But
want to
that
take,
could all just be a distraction.
but anyway, knowing that, I want to take myself out of the timeline and and just if I don't think that if I take myself out of the timeline, I won't need a calendar. I won't need to look at anything. Right?
I took my watch off in like 2011.
Yeah, I don't wear a watch either. I'd like to
But
go
you
back
know,
to it.
well, do, do you know what's funny is does anybody see like different numbers?
Different numbers.
Yeah, like numbers.
Elaborate on it. Like seven, like 222 and 333 and all that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I used to all the time, but I quit paying attention to that.
Okay, well, I am not paying attention to it.
Hmm.
And I've gone through a series where the original one, of course, was like 111 and 1111.
Yeah, because we're the one.
And then I remember, I'd see like 1212, and at this point in time, as far as I knew, nobody was really talking about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, people were talking about. I just wasn't aware of it. This was just happening to me. I didn't talk about it to anybody. I just thought it was funny, right?
Right.
And then at one point I was like, "Oh, angel numbers or something. Let's go look those up and see what that says." Because I was like, "Why have I seen this?" And I'm not talking to anybody about this. Because here's the key. If you don't talk about it, there's no power behind it.
Right.
And the what would be considered the dark, it cannot read your mind. The only time that happens is while you're sleeping. They can like almost run, they're like running like a diagnostic to try and figure out how to build tomorrow. So whatever you do today builds tomorrow. So like before I go to bed, I say, um, thank you for showing me, um, like these challenges, everything's taken care of.
Right.
Oh, it's thank you for showing me these issues are already solved, is what I'll say. And I
Right.
say it 3 times right before I go to sleep. And by the third time, I typically have a smile on my face. It helps to reset yourself before you go to bed like that so that you can have a peaceful rest. Because so many times, people go to sleep and they can't sleep. I mean, this is crazy epidemic of people can't sleep. Like, what is that all about?
I don't, because I don't require much sleep to begin with.
Well, but what I'm saying is like, why, like, the children today can't sleep. It's probably all the screen time. I know they've done like different, research on that. And it shows, if you're having difficulty sleeping, obviously no caffeine, um, don't eat before you go to bed. That can like mess things up. Like
Yeah,
just different stuff, but that's not even necessarily true. Like I slept for 11 hours.
I ain't done that in I don't know how long.
Oh, I could sleep like 12, 13 hours back in the day.
Feel better?
What?
Did you feel better after sleeping 11 hours?
I guess. I had some weird dreams that I don't normally remember.
I sleep
And
that long,
then,
my body hurts. My back's killing me.
is that why you wake up?
Yeah, because my back hurts so bad.
Get some magnesium salt spray.
Magnesium?
Mm-hmm. It's a topical. It's a spray.
Yeah, I
It's
have
really
to.
good. It's really good for pain. But usually lower back pain has to do emotionally with fear. So what are you afraid
Heard
of?
turmeric was good, but then I just recently heard that for us.
That what?
The turmeric is not good for us. It's acidic.
If you're in a balanced alkaline, I don't even know how that. No, I'm not buying that.
What about alkaline?
If you're alkalized,
Yeah,
when you take turmeric, you don't take that much. And if you take turmeric, you have to take it with black pepper.
yeah. That's the only kind of water I want to drink is the alkaline water.
No, I'm talking about turmeric and pepper.
Really?
Hmm. I actually have some that has black pepper in it, but it didn't seem to do anything for me. Maybe I didn't use it long enough. I don't know.
And for those who love garlic, I heard garlic's not good for us either.
Oh yeah. Well, garlic is an antibiotic.
And I love tomatoes, and tomatoes aren't good.
Me and tomatoes don't work real well together. I actually think that some of that has more to do with your blood type, like where like your genetic line comes from, you know?
Right.
Like I don't like to eat a lot of meat, but
I don't either anymore. I'm just
other people are just huge carnivores, which is consistent with people that have O blood type. Like, so there's just different things. What I'm going to say is that what works for one person doesn't work for another. So I don't know why everybody tries to put everybody inside a box. We're all individual here experiencing, you know, this
what.
experience. And everybody has a different experience. People are like, well, this person must have a lot of karma. This person must, well, maybe it's just down to like stupid decisions or something. I don't know. I don't know why this person over here has just like what seems like this perfect life. And then this other person is just down in the dumps. But the person that's down in the dumps seems to be a lot happier than this other person over here that everybody's perceiving to have it together. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do. Yeah, and and a lot of times that is the case.
If you're hungry, go into a neighborhood where there's poor people because those people will feed you.
That's a fact.
Fuck yeah, it is.
I grew up like you know, uh, my brother's in-law, his ex-wife, uh, her name was Millie. She when she would cook, she'd cook for 20 people, man. You know, so when there was a pot of chili, there was a big 5 gallon pot of chili. And that's the type of meal she made.
And then, of course, you want to share that with people because it's enjoyable, right?
Yeah, Yeah, different times back then.
Do what?
It was a different time back then, you know?
Well,
Literally.
when I lived in Colorado, I was around a lot of people and I didn't have a lot of money because I was in college and um, I had so many different like friends and their families. They would just take me in, and I was always, taken care of with
Probably,
food or you know. And the people that I was around, I mean, they didn't necessarily have a lot of money, but they were always willing to feed me. I mean,
sure. That's how a lot of the people I was around were like that. And they didn't have a lot,
mhm.
you know? And it's not
Mhm.
had an abundance, but they didn't, uh, they, it was in them to share, you know? It was a kindness.
Well,
Like,
and what's going on today with our food? I mean, you watch in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, price of food's going to drop like drastically. Do you know why?
one,
Because it never needed to be that high in the first place. I mean, what was the stock market? I'm not even paying attention anymore. It's at like 40,000. I remember when the top of the stock market was 10,000.
I don't even know what that means. I don't
The
fall.
the Dow
Really?
Jones. Yeah, the stock market. Um, it's at like 40,000. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Wow.
10 years, it's like what? Every 10 years, it's got to bump another 10,000 points.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me. And like,
Everything's weird.
yeah, that's weird is like the number one probably word in my vocabulary. It's just weird. It's all just weird.
It
Just let me be weird.
weird
Like,
is,
don't even try to figure it out.
you hear me? Weird is the new norm. Here,
Mm-hmm.
Fool said something. What'd she say? Let's see. She said GMO's fake. All the all the fruit was really expensive. Comes back really cheap now. Grapes are gone. Uh, Expensive. Wouldn't be surprised it going to come back really cheap. Yeah, and she's saying because of it's all GMO shit. Which yeah, and that's seems to be the case.
Okay, well, I don't know if you remember this. This is one of those
Hold on,
random
hold
things.
on. These fucking grapes the size of your fucking uh pool cue ball or some shit. I'm not that big, but you know what I mean. Grapes the size of a fucking plum.
Oh, that's like looking at a chicken. I bought chicken from the meat market, like a
Right.
real meat market that was like grass fed. Like they grew the food and then fed the animal. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like they did the whole thing. And the meat obviously tastes different. It doesn't have
Sure.
any antibiotics, doesn't have anything in it. And the size of the chicken thighs that I get are much smaller.
Oh, I bet. What about the breast? I bet because that's
Yeah,
the only
same thing.
like yeah. Well, I heard something about they were injecting them with fucking
With the
water.
mRNA. They were wanting to put the mRNA in them. That was a huge, I don't know if that's a conspiracy, if that's really like a real thing.
I
But
didn't
then
hear
I
that.
also know that there were people that were like, no, we're not going to do that.
That's fucking crazy.
But with the GMO, I remember this. It had to be early 90s because, the whole entire 80s was feed the children, in Africa with all of those horrible pictures of the children with the gigantic bellies and they were like skinny as a rail.
Yeah, but they had the torn bellies for a reason because they needed to learn their lesson. That's what they like to say. I'm like,
Well,
what?
I think it's because there's
They're
certain
told
people,
they,
I think
they
it's because I
Go
think
ahead.
it's because the dark
Yeah.
for some reason I said to my dad, I go, you know, if you read in the Bible back in the day, like that whole area in Africa was very it wasn't like a desert. It was very fertile. It was very fertile ground, and they destroyed it through their farming practices because the way that it used to be is that you're supposed to grow your food on land. I think the rule was 7 years on, 7 years off. And
Right.
in that time period, that's when you allowed for the soil to replenish its nutrients.
Get fertile.
Hmm. Well, they've completely destroyed that whole concept with corporate
That's what makes it go barren.
farming. But they've manipulated it so bad. The weird part is that I have a friend who is a nutritionist, and he has different uh, nutrients and different technologies that would solve our farming problems like overnight. There is something, I think it's a, I don't know if it's a product or if it's a frequency. It's some type of a machine or something.
Yeah. Well, I bet it is. You know, they've shown that if you put certain um, uh, levels of energy through it, like low volts of electricity or whatever the case may
Or
be.
the electroculture, the
Yeah. Yeah.
copper and stuff, like stuff will grow because it's nutrient deficient, which we're actually like part of that whole system, and
Right. Right.
we're
Well,
all nutrient
crystallized
deficient.
beings. Yeah, crystallized beings, and that's what happens to the food. So the sun crystallizes it, and yeah.
So what I was going to say about the GMOs was the propaganda at the time,
Hmm.
and like I said, it was either late 80s, it was probably early 90s once Clinton came in. So that was like what, 90, like 92. Um, the whole entire programming completely switched because before that we were in cooling. We were gonna freeze over. That's what we heard all in the 80s. We're just gonna freeze over. And then all of a sudden they're like,
Yeah,
oh no,
we're mountain.
everything's now gonna warm up. But
Yeah.
what they said about the GMO at the time when they introduced it into our food supply, they told us the
Hmm.
programming was, well, this is so that people, will be able to produce a lot more like corn and wheat so that people are no longer starving.
Yeah.
That is how they brought it in. And then it's just turned into this behemoth of its own like negative energy that then all of a sudden we see all of these uh, digestive issues and things that we've never heard of, right?
Right.
And so I have been screaming because I was paying attention in the 90s to what was going on. And I'm like, the only thing that's changed is our food,
Right.
because we used to all be thin.
Yeah, we still got the kids over there with bellies besides the
Yeah.
basketballs.
And so you bring all this GMO in, and supposedly that's going to feed the world. And how come you still have people starving across the world? It's not a food supply problem, it's a control problem,
Well,
meaning that there's people that are negative that come in and steal the food and do all kinds of other things.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and or you send a shipment of food over there, and then the negatives come in and they take all the food,
Right.
and they don't want to give it to the people, so then the people continue to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems about right. Um, I
And
was.
then we could go down like 20 other rabbit holes of like what's happening to the children over there. Are they
Yeah,
being taken somewhere? Is there things happening?
we don't. It's like,
Um,
yeah. I was gonna go
different.
somewhere else. Actually, I was gonna go with.
Well, we didn't finish time.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think that what I was going to say was tied into it. I can't remember what the fuck I was going to say now. It's getting late. Yeah, I think we're going to keep it going about another half hour. Then end it.
Yeah, because I got to get up and go to work.
Me too. Me too. Supposedly, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I still got to
No,
get.
I know. I
I
know I
don't
have
think,
to get
but
up.
I think tomorrow that it'll be a half day, if any.
Okay,
Because I
so what were you gonna say?
we were gonna finish the calendar thing, the timeline.
Okay, what about it?
So how do you take yourself out of time?
Well, first you got to recognize that time is an illusion, and that's how you start the
I
game.
think.
That's how you start it.
Okay,
I haven't figured it out completely, um, but it's gonna be within your mind. That's
sure.
how you're gonna. That's how you're gonna do it.
So.
And okay, so I like to play little games
Mhm.
with myself, and so there's like an action that goes with the thought, right?
Right.
And so like I like to jump timelines. Whatever that really means. Shift, am I actually changing timelines? I don't know, shit's weird.
We
Things are
are.
different. Things are
We
different.
we are changing it because I'm in and out of them, and I'm in 'em
Mhm.
times.
Yeah.
That's
And
why.
there's some that say like, based on your thought is going to determine what timeline you're on. So we get to determine which one we're on, and we're constantly jumping, like constantly. Maybe, but I think that things would hopefully be a little bit more stable. But maybe that's not the way it works. I don't really know. I mean, it's something that I can't necessarily prove, right? It's more of like a feeling.
Just look
And
at.
what?
I show you. I just look at Trump.
Which one?
That's what I'm saying.
We could say that about the other one too. He had like 4 or 5 doubles.
What about Elon? He's
Look,
definitely a fucking time traveler. Yeah, man. Just
there's I don't necessarily know that they're time travelers as much as they have access for some reason
hmm
to the technology. They've been given it. They're part of
doors.
what?
They got the stargates. They're those are real. Yeah, I mean they're everywhere, and they use them.
But they may just be like just manipulating time and space, which we can do that.
Well, yeah, but they've figured something out, and they're not sharing it with us.
I don't think that they figured it out. I think somebody gave them the information
But what they
because there's certain people that are privy to it.
right? What they give them?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
But I
I
mean, what are they jumping through portals? I don't think so because I do believe we're in a closed system and nobody's going anywhere.
no, that's but how? Here's the thing. Even if that's the case, okay, how big is the system? We don't know because we can't
No,
get where we're at.
no. Just like we don't know if what if there's a whole nother planet, so called, right? That's like, but it's here. Like what I'm saying is there is a possibility, just for the mere fact that I could imagine it,
Right.
that this world that we live in, this realm, is more expansive than we know.
And that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Like
You know,
maybe
beyond
there's
all.
there's other land out there that we don't know about, and that's why we're limited on our flight paths,
Right.
and like why they fly certain patterns when there's another way they could go that would be much shorter. Like
Right.
just different things to where it's like, I mean, there's just no way for us to know, because anybody that would accidentally try to drive or fly to a certain area, they're going to get shot down or they're going to get warned to go away.
Right. They
But that's all, conjecture. We don't
yeah,
really know.
information, and they never will. And if they do, it's all going to be misinformation.
Yeah, kind of like the whole alien thing coming out.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
I don't even get into that. I don't want to give it any energy.
I just, things are not as they seem.
So I'm just going to start turning a blind eye, so to speak, to certain things that are going on with me. Well,
Well,
we'll see.
it really comes down to knowing who you are and where you came from and pulling your power, because anytime that you go into any of these energies, is what I'm going
Yeah.
to call them, that, like, we were having a conversation earlier about different topics, and I'm like, I got all upset about this, but I'm over it now. I've gone past it. I've seen that it's not as important. It is part of the process of waking up, but you do not have to know all of these things to wake up,
Right.
because you are like appointed for a certain time, and that's when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I came to you and said,
No,
you have to wake up. You have to see
you
this.
can't do it. I can't do it. A spirit has to do it. Or
Uh-huh.
yeah, because I've tried many times only to make a fool of myself and get somebody angry at me.
And that's a big part of it. I mean, I went down that road of, that frustration, and then it was like, God, you have to see it. But I mean, I've lived this, 25 plus years
You
of
know,
of
quite
having
a
to
few
deal
years
of
for
having
me,
to deal with that.
and I've learned a lot.
But that's all it is learning. But what I can deduce from every bit of what I've learned, you know what the truth is? We don't know shit.
Right, and that's a fact. And,
We
and, and,
don't know shit.
that's the thing right there. That's key. If you don't know, then just say that. But instead of telling a fucking bogus ass story and telling a half truth and adding some shit in there just to get some views on fucking YouTube or Rumble or whatever the fuck it is, only to
Or
come out
like,
later and say, "Oh, I was wrong."
or why is it beneficial for people to bag like on other YouTubers? Just let them talk. If
Yeah,
people want to listen,
it's the truth.
at some point, if they're not telling the truth, it'll come out.
Bite them in the ass.
It really will. Um, I think the days of, a lot of these huge YouTubers that are pushing different subjects,
Hmm.
a lot of us already went down that road, and don't stay stuck.
Right.
A lot of people are like, well, is what's the shape of the earth? Who fucking knows?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And it really doesn't matter. The only thing that you need to know is that they are utilizing this story that they have put forth.
Yeah,
But there's only one agency that has
that control.
that shows us the pictures.
We had alphabet.
So,
You know who it is. So here's the thing.
but then it's so weird, right? Then they come out with all the videos of like showing um, the moon landings, and then you
Yeah,
can tell that it's like at a set or whatever, and
yeah. All
and then
that's
the and then the story comes out that they filmed this in case something bad happened, right? To where like there would be,
oh yeah, sure.
but I'm like,
Just like the floppy door on the fucking space station.
yeah, I'm like, okay, this tin box is,
Right, right. Uh,
I could make that in my garage. And it's funny, I did go to NASA Johnson Space Center in
mhm,
Texas multiple times because my parents lived right there. And
mhm.
I wanted to take my daughter, and my dad worked on several of those different missions, designing, helping, whatever. It
To
was
the
all
desert.
top. It was all top secret, so I could never.
Hush, hush.
To this day, I still don't know what my dad did, and he's passed on. We still don't know what he did.
Right.
But we did find some things out because they were declassified, like the stealth bomber. He'd worked on the stealth bomber.
Lock,
Um,
that was with Lockheed Martin.
and then he also worked on, when we went to the Johnson Space Center, he was part of one of the Apollos.
Uh,
Um, and so, like, for my dad, you know, even though I knew certain things, and I would tell him about it, but I think he thought I was batshit crazy before he died.
sure,
But I was
sure.
like, I'm all, Dad, you just don't understand. I'm
He,
like, I said,
so he
I
never did
know,
wake.
huh?
He never did wake up.
No, he took a lot of what I had into consideration for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but that
Some,
cognitive dissonance, I'm sure, is kicking
so
in.
some never wake.
But I was like, telling him different things, like, and then explaining it to him from like a biblical standpoint, because
Yeah,
if you can talk to people, if
in their
you if
in their language.
in exactly. And I was like, but it says this, and I was like, and it's the frequencies, and it's, what I mean, like,
Yeah.
and to try and like pull it over, I was like, there's a lot of scientific information that's come out with like quantum physics and string theory and all of these kinds of things. And I was like, so the system that we're in is, it's not what we think that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you're talking to a guy that built fucking rockets and airplane and supersonic airplanes.
oh yeah, and I'm sitting here telling him, we can't leave, and we didn't go to the moon.
Right.
Um,
Von Braun didn't fucking shoot his rockets into space because there is no space.
I mean, it just, but that was after 2020. So, I mean, I do think there was a part of him that was
Skeptical.
understanding some of it, because I wasn't the only one in my family that was talking like that.
Really? Who else?
Yeah. Um, my brother was talking like that. My
Like, he
sister
older
was
or
talking
younger?
like that. Um,
Is your
and
brother
then
young?
no, everybody's older than me. I'm the youngest. There's six children.
I'm the youngest.
So I did find out though. Um, you remember the Paradise Fire
Uh-uh.
in California?
Nope.
So it was a small town. I think it was like less than 20, 30,000 people.
Mhm.
And the place caught on fire, and there was a ton of people that were trapped in their cars on the 2-lane highway, and they had blocked the road. Those people melted in their cars, and the news totally covered it up. And there were different reports of tow truck drivers that had gone up there to pick up the cars, and they
Yeah.
spoke out. There were firemen that spoke out, and they were like, there is no way that such and such could melt because the temperature based on the heat with the material,
Hmm.
it had to have been a much hotter heat. So it was this huge conspiracy, right?
Oh, what?
And they were saying how, this was done intentionally through the DEWs, right? The do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I know where you're getting at.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they like shoot this laser down or whatever. Okay, here's the funny part. That sounds like a conspiracy, doesn't it? Did you know that we actually have that technology and that my dad worked on it?
Oh, we do.
It was especially designed, and my dad was part of that.
Yeah. They've got silent weapons for silent wars.
Yeah. So with that fire, it just so happened that that town, the people that lived there have lived there for a very, very long time and would not sell. Well, I guess, um, somebody got greedy because there's a whole bunch of gold in that town, apparently.
Really?
And so it's similar to like, these different land grabs with that Hawaii thing that happened.
Right.
Um,
Which we know they hear nothing about now
no, it's
because
like
they
it never
control the media.
happened.
They could. Yeah. It's
And
fucking
and then
bullshit.
and then you just had this different stuff like in the Appalachians, North Carolina, that whole like, really? You're telling
Well,
me that a hurricane come this many miles inland? Bullshit.
we know what happened, man.
Well, something happened, but it's not what they're telling us. That's
Well,
what we know.
it's a
That's
you.
what we know. We
It's
don't
a
know exactly what happened, but we
if
do know that what they're telling us is not accurate.
if anything like that, if it was even possible, it would only be possible through ionosphere heaters, and that's what they use for weather
Right.
manipulation.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, so it's just
what do we know?
again, that's speculation. However, then you have some whistleblower come out that supposedly proves that da 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 da.
Hmm.
But we still don't know the truth.
There's a guy right now that's on online, and I'm sure he's on many platforms. But anyway, I forget his name. But he's got he follows and measures frequency. Okay, and he puts it out there and puts them on blast that uh, that they're sending uh, electromagnetic frequency waves while people sleep at night, all throughout
Uh,
the room.
well, maybe that's why people can't sleep.
Maybe so. But yeah, I'll have to find that dude's channel. And I can't believe you don't know what I'm talking about.
I probably do,
Yeah,
but
he's
you have
on it.
because it sounds like something familiar, but you got to understand, like, I stopped going down the rabbit holes,
I get it. Me too.
probably at least 4 or 5 years ago. And so I'm not even like in that. I mean, you're talking to somebody who had like 750 tabs open on her cell phone because
But-
I had all of this stuff and it was so weird. I mean, this is a conspiracy in and of itself.
Right.
One day I woke up and all of those tabs were gone and I did not delete them. Maybe I jumped a timeline.
Maybe somebody got tired of you being on the phone and deleted it for you.
No, nobody touches my phone. I mean, I had some solid freaking videos and stuff, and it was funny. I would go back through them occasionally, and I would see all these ones that like are no longer. They've been banned, been banned, been banned, and I'm like, really? But I mean, I have one of God. I don't remember exactly what it was because this is a long time ago. But it's Gabbard's dad. Like, there's some weird something that he did. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And there was like a video of them, like, if something. God, I wish it was one of those 750 tabs.
Uh,
And my new phone, it only holds, I think, like 300 tabs open.
oh wow.
And I think I have a good, 250 at least. Because, you ultimately you end up losing it if you don't keep it.
Right.
But I mean, it's, how many TikTok and Facebook videos do you save and you never go back and look at
I don't do TikTok.
them?
Yeah, I just
TikTok is more entertaining than Facebook because it's more interactive. It's
right.
actually I see any of those social medias, they are positive and negative. You just have to make sure you're on the right algorithms, you know.
Yeah.
Like on TikTok, I stick to a lot of the spiritual stuff, the positive, like little positive memes, and then listen to different people, like that video I was talking to you about with manifesting, the 4 steps, and how it's scientific based to rewire your brain. But I told you I'm familiar with that because I used to teach right brain training, and so it actually is effective and it does work. And really, everybody needs like a good dose of right brain training for a good solid year to undo some of the damage that's been done.
There's a lot of it.
Because it really is about rewiring your brain. And like, how do you do that? Well, you come up with whatever it is that you want, you write it down, you read it, you speak it, and then you visualize it. It's that
Hmm.
simple.
Power in the tongue.
Well, it's a power in the tongue, it's power in the visual. You're utilizing your sensory organs when you do it by writing it out, by reading it, you know.
Right. Yep. Yep. I agree.
How, how else are you going to memorize your times tables,
Right.
which they don't do now?
It's a program, but you
And
also got to delete some shit too.
you don't have to delete shit. I have a quote in my book.
You don't have to delete. You don't. You say.
Mm-mm. Just, yeah, Singh, he tells me, he's like, what did he say? Clear the resistance, increase the frequency fields. Be that simple.
Yeah.
None of this you don't need all this voodoo. There's just a few simple things that you can do to
So
keep
you're,
you,
you're
to
saying we
keep you,
overcomplicate shit.
of course we do. For you to connect with source is very simple. Just talk to it and know who you're talking to. You're talking to you,
Right.
which is source, because both of those are outside of here, connected through the silver cord, which others are like, oh, that's an alien, something or other, keeps you in the loop. Well, maybe it is, but it makes sense to me. Um, this quote says, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new.
Right. I like that.
So you don't have to delete anything. I mean, what you may have to do is delete people out of your life. You might have to delete things that you do out of your life.
Sure.
Um, but that comes in time. You first have to be in the frequency of the shift that you're wanting so that then it can manifest into the 3D. And then as that happens, you got to be willing to let go of the old
Right.
because it's going to benefit you, not because it's going to harm you. What's been harming you is all these things that you've been holding on to. And most of that, or I should say all of that, is actually an illusion. Because there's no reason that you would need to hang on to anything because you are limitless, you are expansive in all directions, and you have the power within you to do great things. You don't need anything. You have everything you need inside of you. And your cells are programmed.
Money, money, money. So that's what Fool said. They destroyed anything good at
I'm
the
going to
Great
say that
Barrier
they
Reef.
tried because I'm still standing and they didn't destroy me.
She was talking about the Barrier Reef.
Oh, yeah, but apparently they just came out and found a whole other coral reef somewhere else, and now it's going to save the ocean. Did you hear that one?
No,
Like, I heard that probably in the last, I don't know, week.
really.
And I'm just like, enough is enough, man. Like, if you just, okay, let's just take a look at the earth, right? Like, as we've been told,
Hmm.
it's round. And what do we call it? We call it mother because mother nurtures and takes care of us, right? It provides for us. And then the father, right? I'm just using this as a metaphor. And then the father is like God the Father, right? Who's our protector. So we have our protector, and then we have our mother that is nurturing us. So here's my question.
Hmm.
If both of those things are supposedly true, which they are to an extent, although I don't see, um,
I think it flip flops.
but I don't, well, just let me get to the point. I don't see sources being male or female. It's energy.
Right, and it's both.
Mm,
Kind of like a
mm-hmm.
hermaphrodite energy type.
In some ways, but it's not. It's because it's not a physical form. It's just energy. It's light.
Exactly.
So it's neither. Um, and that's all speculative too.
Yeah, yeah, I
We can
agree.
only go based on what we've been told. But ancient scriptures from the beginning of time have described it in this way. Genesis actually came from Hindu scriptures, so in its original form. But
Mhm.
when you take a look at mother, the nurturing, taking care of, providing, um, it knows how many people are on this planet. It knows how many people need to be fed. It knows how much area we need. And so, what I'm going to say is that the system will compensate based on the population. And this whole narrative that they have that we're running out, everything is scarce, is such a control
Right.
factor.
Yeah, like the fossil fuel. It's not.
The fossil fuel that comes from dinosaurs that,
Yeah. Right.
no. Mm-mm.
Right. Not gonna run out, guys.
No.
Don't worry. There'll
And
be petrol for you.
and and our and our water supply comes from inside the earth and moves like a toroidal field.
Right. It's just insane, man. This.
I mean, I'm literally like, where do you get your water that's inside your house? It goes through a pipe out into
Well,
the street,
right. It's
and
not live
and
water anymore.
and where did that water come from? Oh, well, it came from the water plant over there. Yeah, but where did they get the water from?
Out of the ground.
They got it out of the ground. Oh, we're running out of groundwater. You can't
They're
run
selling
out of
they're selling bottled water. Come on,
you
man.
you can't run out of water. We live on a water planet.
But
And
you can sell it.
everything and yeah, and everything circulates.
You're selling shit that's free.
We're paying for the plastic bottle that's going to destroy the planet.
Right.
I don't know. I think that the next 4 years are going to be quite entertaining to see actually what happens in that whole federal system of uh, the food, the drug administration, all of that,
I
the
don't.
education system.
I don't disagree on that.
I'm just sitting here going, are they going to do it? Or are they just talking about it? Because they love to talk about a lot of stuff. But I do know, I mean, I experienced in the last time that he was in there, he did get, a lot going.
Yeah.
for the country. I just don't know that it's going to be that way again. Hopefully, it will be. We flourished during that time period, so I'm hoping that it's like that again. But people are so down, so out of money, so frustrated. Like, I don't know, are we going to really be able to turn the ship around? And how much are they really going to be able to get done in 4 years? And are they
Hmm.
going to, and here's the question, are they really going to allow for it? And then,
That's even if he stays in office.
or he's got to get in there first.
Right.
But, I sort of feel like that they'll let him in. But I'm sure he's going to have, like, 100 doppelgangers.
Sure. Yep.
I just, it's why is it that they're always trying to take out the Reds?
Crazy. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap it up. I got to get to bed. It's
Absolutely.
almost 3 in the morning.
Well, you're not
So
working tomorrow anyway, right?
I don't think I am, but I got to be ready just in case. I might have to go put ice or something down. I don't know, or not ice. I mean salt. It's already probably gonna be ice.
Well, it
But
was definitely a pleasure. We'll have to do this again. I've been
sure.
dying to go live with stuff again, and if
Yeah. Uh, we might do it this weekend or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's always a pleasure. Fools, thanks for hanging out with us.
yeah, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed our chit chat.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'll talk to you tomorrow when you get done doing your stuff. Just get a hold of me.
Okay, I will do that, and we'll have to come up with some interesting topics. I have a ton. I'm like limitless.
All right. Well, then I'll let you run it by me, and we'll put it
We'll see
together,
if
and
yeah, we'll see what,
we'll see where we can
we'll
get
see,
going.
we'll see what book and topic I want to talk about.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Good night,
All right.
everybody, and much love and respect, and
Good night. It's been a
get,
pleasure
get some rest,
interacting.
everyone.
Have a
All right.
beautiful sleep.
Bye, you guys.
All right. Bye.